Hey guys, we have a major new moon in Cancer that we need to talk about today. New moons in Cancer, this is a cardinal cycle. This is a very action-oriented time of year. In the context of our new moon phases, our lunar cycles generally, new moon in Cancer is always sort of a big one because of the cardinal action-oriented nature of the sign of Cancer, of this energy itself. But what makes this specific new moon extra sort of rare and significant is that it's not only a new moon, it's not only an energetic activation that is indicating the energy that is likely to be unfolding over the course of the next month as this lunar cycle plays out. But this particular new moon in Cancer is actually starting a much grander cycle that is going to be carrying us throughout the course of the next year and a half. We have reached like a fundamental turning point in the energy right now, and from this new moon moving forward throughout the course of the next year and a half, there's going to be a major shift in where our focus is, the type of experiences playing out in our lives, and generally the energetic themes and lessons that we are dealing with, navigating, and experiencing. And that being said, therefore then, of course, on this channel, what we are talking about is about to start changing as well. There have been some pretty significant themes that we've been focused on over this past year and a half. One of the major themes having been this karmic detox process that has been underway throughout this period of time and that we have now officially reached the end of. We are breaking karmic contracts. We are being released from karmic loops and karmic patterns, generational curses. And now we have come to a point in time where it's time to move forward in a radically new direction, and we have some brand new lessons and therefore some brand new themes that we are about to be encountering and that are going to be coloring much of our experience moving forward. And they are coming into fruition right in alignment with this new moon that's playing out. So we have a lot of energy to talk about in the context of the new moon in Cancer itself. However, this new moon is also part of a much larger process of change that we're really in a very active way going to see be initiated now and in the coming weeks. So all of that being said, let's get right into this energy, to the new themes that perhaps are presenting. And I will tell you guys, it's not just one thing. There are multiple indications. There are repeating patterns presenting in this chart that are all sort of pointing in the same direction, and this direction that they're pointing in is probably going to be very characteristic of these new lessons, these new themes, and this new area of growth that is upon us now. So essentially, without further ado, I feel like this new moon in and of itself is marking the beginning of a 4-week period, which represents the lunar cycle, but also of a 1.5 year long period that is about these radical new beginnings, okay, rebirth, and this is a very action-oriented change and transformation that is upon us. As this next few weeks unfolds, we will find ourselves naturally, I think, reorienting ourselves in some aspect or area of our lives. And if you guys want to look at your own chart and see how this is likely playing out for you, wherever you have Aries, the sign of Aries, and the oppositional sign of Libra, in your own natal chart, this is where the sign of Aries, the house that is represented by that sign in your chart, this is where the next, this is where the growth is going to happen, okay? This is where the new experiences, the new beginnings, the new lessons, and the new phase of growth, like I said, is going to come into fruition, while the house opposing that, the house of Libra, this is where things from the past might be coming back up in a new context to be released, shifted, changed, transformed in some type of a way so that we can let go of something, detach from something, and move towards this new phase of growth associated with the house aligned with the sign of Aries in our chart. So if you want to see how this energy over this next 1.5 years is likely to affect you personally, the way you do that is by locating the houses associated with Aries and Libra in your chart, as these are the houses that are going to be implicated in both the release and the detachment and also the growth and expansion. So of course that will be playing out differently for all of us depending on how our particular natal chart is set up. But one thing that we can be sure of is that it will be affecting all of us, and it will be reorienting all of us, like I said, in one way or another. Now let's get into some of these themes that are likely to become more dominant in our experience and what we're likely to be focused on as we move through this Cancer cycle, and this being sort of the initiation or the opening into the changes coming over this next year and a half. This is going to have a lot to do with, and likely really be sort of revolving around our own sense of self-assertion, personal motivation, taking charge of ourselves and of our reality, standing up for ourselves, not backing down, fighting for what we believe in, fighting for what's right, and no longer being so controlled by the expectation of the group or social graces or social norms or social expectations. With one of the primary energies associated with this new moon in Cancer, the nodes of the moon, destiny and karma, leaving the signs of Taurus and Scorpio, moving into the signs of Aries and Libra, which will be a defining energy and a major shift separating the past year and a half from the pending year and a half that is upcoming now. And all of this that I'm talking about right now has a lot to do with this nodal shift that is happening in correspondence with the new moon. That is why this is such a significant new moon. It's because not only do we have our new moon, which is always an important time of the month, it's when the sun and the moon come together and we begin a new cycle of growth and a new cycle of creation and energetic unfoldment. But the fact that the new moon is happening in direct simultaneous nature correspondence to the nodes of the moon, destiny and karma, the past and the future, shifting signs. Whenever a planet changes signs, this is a major energetic shift. When we're talking about the nodes of the moon, they take a year and a half to change signs. So of course, it's going to create a significant energetic shift when they move out of one energetic polarity and enter a totally different energetic polarity. And that is what we are dealing with in correspondence to our new moon right now. And that is why our new moon is not only representing, of course, a 4-week cycle of time, lunar cycle that will unfold, but also a year and a half cycle of time. So the energy that we have present for our new moon right now is not only giving us a representation of our Cancer lunar cycle, but it's also giving us a glimpse into the future in terms of how the next year and a half is likely to be unfolding in the context of the lessons that this new phase of growth are presenting to us. So by analyzing the energy associated with this new moon right now, not only are we seeing how this month specifically is sort of acting as kind of like a microcosm for the next year and a half that's going to be unfolding. Our Cancer cycle right now is kind of like embodying a lot of the energy and themes that is going to be unfolding on this greater year and a half level, kind of compressed into this lunar cycle, of course, because they are happening simultaneously, they are happening together. So what we're looking at now, we can kind of take and apply on some level to what is to come. Now, that being said, if we're talking about some major changes in regards to our own level of self-assertion or our own, standing in our power, okay, being a leader, taking back power, becoming sort of the ruler of our own domain, as opposed to allowing ourselves to be ruled by maybe like an external authority. This is kind of the way that the balance of power is shifting as we move forward. And as a result, this is likely to have a very transformative effect on the home, the family, the community, relationships generally, also social expectations, group cohesion, social norms. We're dealing with the polarity going forward of Aries and Libra. Although we're in a Cancer new moon right now, which has a lot to do with home, with family, with early childhood, with community, with roots, with where we're from, with the familial and social expectations and norms associated with those things. The new moon, like I haven't talked about this yet, but the new moon is also happening in an opposition to Pluto. This is indicating some sort of like existential transformations that could be going on in regards to these Cancerian home, family, community, early childhood, familial unit expectations, like all of that type of themes. So, you know, this is indicating, aside from the nodes changing signs, that there is a major transformation that is going on in regards to our roots and in regards to that which makes us also feel like comforted and nurtured and secure on some very deep levels. Where we draw our sustenance from, I do believe, is also something that is going to be changing over this 1.5 year period of time. But, you know, that being said, the South Node entering the sign of Libra this summer, Libra is ruled by Venus. We are also going to be having Venus go retrograde within this next couple of days. Venus is also in a trine to the North Node as the North Node is entering the sign of Aries. These are 3 major indications that as of this new moon and moving through the rest of the summer, detaching ourselves from what we previously wanted, perhaps who we previously associated with, the dynamics of our old relationships and connections and commitments, kind of undergoing some major redefinition and reevaluation as we step more into our personal truth and a redefined personal identity, moving forward in this 1.5 year long cycle of North Node in the sign of Aries. Aries is the sign of the self. It's the sign of the warrior. It's the sign of seize the day, you know, carpe diem, the pioneer, the journey. It's about independence, about courage. It's about passions and motivation and the will to like live to fight another day, okay? Standing up for ourselves. And Pluto will also be re-entering the sign of Aquarius as this energy is playing out. And a major push for self-empowerment is coming our way, you guys. And the wake that is leaving is going to have something to do with what and who we are detaching ourselves from. And again, lack of an ability to maintain some type of social standard if it was distorting our own sense of self, identity, or personal authenticity. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing. And as we are moving towards this energy, as we're starting this new phase of growth that is very much being introduced in our Cancer new moon cycle now, it can't be understated. This is a Cancer cycle. Cancer is a cardinal sign. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Whenever we have these 4 new moon cycles going on every year, these are the times when action is happening, changes are happening, things are going, like things are being initiated. So this is an action-oriented, things are happening, period, phase of year as it is, new moon cycle as it is. And then when we add the Aries North Node component of it, which is ruled by Mars, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. This is rebirth. This is the spark of life. This is like a whole new beginning, a whole fresh start. And Mars is also the pioneer, going in a new direction, taking a new journey, taking a risk, doing something brand new. This is about as much new beginning energy, fresh start energy as is possibly available to us. And it's happening simultaneous to South Node in Libra, ruled by Venus, who also happens to be going retrograde, really talking about the past, really talking about detaching from old relationships or old loves, or, you know, old people from the past and loves and relationships and stuff like that could be coming back up. And we're seeing that maybe through a new perspective, or we're seeing the impact that they've had on the way that we've identified with ourselves or on our own personal identity. And then Venus also being the trine to the North Node as she stations retrograde. It's like the new beginnings, the new sense of self. How we are identifying now is directly related to the shifting preferences and desires and value systems, and who we are no longer, and therefore who we are no longer associating with, and therefore how we are no longer saving face. Essentially, that's what it is. It's like we're not following the crowd anymore. It's like we have to go in our own direction. We have to stand our truth. We have to stand up for ourselves. We have to fight for what's right. And it's like, I'm sorry, but I cannot keep up the facade anymore. And whatever sort of, you know, waves that makes or how that rocks the boat, like this is no longer the focal point. And it's like, and if I need to be socially ostracized, or I need to be cast out, or I need to be cut off as a result of, you know, me standing in my truth, then so be it. Like that's the energy that we're in right now, and it's going to create a tremendous shift in what's happening around the world, and just like how the balance of power generally, okay? Remember, Libra is also the sign of the scales. It's also a sign of justice and balance. Anything that has been unjust or unbalanced or, you know, just not harmonious and therefore resulting in unharmonious states or inorganic growth, this is also what is being released and rectified in this energy as well. Restoring balance, restoring harmony, restoring truth for the purpose of actually being able to grow true and right and natural and in alignment with like universal evolution at this point in time. So, you know, I will say as a result, you know, of these themes that we're looking at, they're not going to be without challenge. They will not be without conflict. They will not be without irritation and frustration and, you know, blockages to growth and the forward movement and redirection and new beginnings that we wish to take right now. We are starting off in this energy, and this is another dynamic of the chart that's playing out today for our new moon in a cardinal grand cross at 29 degrees of cardinal signs. Now, as I just got done stating, you know, we are in some of the strongest and most significant energy that there is for indicating rebirths and new beginnings. This is also, you know, the process of that actual physical birth is kind of where we're at right now as well. And there is a lot to be overcome. There is a very fierce, you know, there could be some strong resistance to change standing in our way, or restrictions or rules or authority or just things generally blocking us. But as with any birthing process, right? Like we have to we overcome, we persevere, we move forward. We have faith, trust, and belief in ourselves that we can do it, and we just got to get through this. And once we get to the other side of these preliminary and initial struggles, we've got this whole new world that is opening up for us, and as soon as we exit through this challenging energy. Now, I will say, this first 2 weeks of our Cancer new moon cycle, while the nodes are beginning their new journey, is likely to be very exemplary of all that I just described. There could be some fierce opposition that we are dealing with. The time of change is upon us, you guys, and we need to create some major change. We need to create some major breakthroughs in order to break through in this new direction that is more self-defined moving forward, okay? So there could definitely be some challenges, okay, that we are encountering as we start off on this process and as this Cancer cycle opens, and we now face a 1.5-year journey, 1.5-year life course, okay, in leadership, in Carpe Diem, the seize the day energy, self-assertion, the ability to stand up for ourselves and to not be afraid to be ourselves as well, despite perhaps any consequences in the form of where we are and are not accepted by others. This is the rise of the inner warrior, okay, and this is also ushering in a period of divine masculine presence in the energy field of, you know, our current situation and what we have going on. And this is definitely going to make itself known over the next 1.5 years as well. I do believe that there will be some powerful and positive masculine figures or masculine role models or influences that are rising to a state of prominence over this next 1.5 years that will actually help to rebalance things in a more productive and positive way going forward. So really, I do think that as we move through this next 1.5 years, there is likely to be a masculine force that is supporting us in our growth and that is helping to put things back into proper balance. And again, this is going to be related to the inner warrior, the spiritual warrior, and it is going to promote as well our sense of self-discipline and self-mastery and wisdom gained through experience and using our energy in the right ways to create the outcomes that we want for ourselves moving forward. One thing about this transit of the North Node through the sign of Aries over the next 1.5 years, you know, the other planet that is in the sign of Aries right now, that planet is Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, teacher, master archetype. Chiron was also the teacher of all the great heroes in the mythology. Chiron rules the hero's journey, and Chiron energy is where we transmute our states of victimhood into states of self-mastery. Because of Chiron's presence in the sign of Aries, over this next 1.5 years, we will have a North Node Chiron conjunction. This is telling us that this journey essentially back to self-assertion, being our own leader, standing in our power, and removing the distortion and the inversion to the masculine energy that, you know, is within all of us and that we relate to in our collective reality. By going through this process, we will actually also over the next year be going through a process of overcoming a lot of our own internal weaknesses, overcoming a lot of our lower ego-based issues and like our instinctual, like more animalistic nature and stuff like that as the higher self, okay? Aries, the sign of the self, but with Chiron there, it's like the spiritual warrior, it's the wisdom gained through experience, it's the transmutation of these states of victimhood into these states of self-mastery that help us to consciously co-create and to consciously create the experience for ourselves in the context of this redefinition of ourselves moving forward. So it's a very healing. Chiron is also all about healing. It's about healing old wounds. And it's about graduating from our suffering, again, to this place where we are no longer, where we're breaking cycles. Again, this cycle breaking energy coming in. We've gone through the transit now of the past year and a half of the karmic detox process. We are at the point where we have broken free from karmic contracts. Now we are moving forward, and it's our job to take back leadership over our own experience, and we will do that by overcoming our own internal weaknesses and our own internal wounding and our own internal states of victimhood that have kept us separated from ourselves and kept us sort of powerless to the wants and desires of the collective consciousness. And again, these like more social situations, we're going to place less value in what other people think of us moving forward and more value in what we think of ourselves and how we are using our energy and the contribution that we are making based on the recognition of the value, worth, and potential that we hold internally to move ourselves forward in some direction. So, as I said a few minutes ago, major reorientation in the context of our own sense of self and our own reality. Coming with this, being ushered in, being initiated with this cardinal Cancer new moon cycle that we have going on right now. Let's talk now about some of the aspects specifically associated with the new moon, since a lot of the themes that we've been discussing until this point in time in the report have been extracted from this overall nodal transit that is happening simultaneously to the new moon. So we've got that going on, and that's like its whole own thing. Okay, now let's focus more specifically on the other actual aspects that are happening and that are accompanying and that are presenting in the chart for the new moon itself. Now, another interesting thing about this new moon, okay, it is making aspect to the three big significant outer planets. We have an opposition to Pluto retrograde. We have a trine to Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And we have a sextile to Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So we've got Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus all in aspect to the sun and the moon as they come into their alignment in the sign of Cancer. This is indicating sort of like an existential, like collective transformation process that is unfolding. Like this is larger than life. Like this is bigger than any individual. This is bigger than us. This is a part of a collective unfolding process of endings and beginnings, radical change and separation from old belief systems as well, that is like fundamentally transforming us. The sun and the moon in the sign of Cancer in regards to the past, okay, in regards to like our roots again and how we had previously defined ourselves. We are redefining ourselves and we are breaking out of the limitations and the constraints that have been, we're breaking out of like the boxes that we've contained ourselves in, okay, based on like our initial programming and what we thought was possible or what we had expected for ourselves based on everyone and everything around us in our early childhood and in our growing up. It's like we are realizing at this point in time with this energy how we have been programmed essentially and how we need to change or alter or reprogram that programming in order to like unlock like our superpowers or our special abilities. Like if we were going to use like a video game sort of like as a metaphor for where we're at now, we're leveling up, like we've come to the end of one level and there are things within us that need to be unlocked right now. And as each of these, you know, gifts or potentials or powers or whatever you want to call it becomes known to us in terms of our awareness of our own inner workings and our own inner potential, that is playing a major role in fueling the like personalized changes in terms of our self-identification. That is really like what is sort of creating this ripple effect that is going to make these larger changes as we go throughout this period of time. So, you know, true and lasting change is upon us. Like, this is not just fleeting change. This is like, things aren't going back to the way they were type of change being represented and being brought through this energy. This is also soul purification. It's like we're getting a fresh start. The slates are being wiped clean. And it's like we are building, laying, forming, rolling out like new legacies and new generational karma going forward for like our family lines and like all of that right now. And hopefully it will be based on a sense of self-empowerment instead of a victim mentality, because that's the whole shift right now. And don't forget, you guys, on this channel, what we are really doing is we are really, yes, we're talking about this energy. Yes, we're talking about how it's affecting us today and tomorrow and yesterday, but really what we're doing is looking at how these small changes that are happening as a result of these aspects coming through are playing a larger role in this overall transition into the age of Aquarius that is upon us now. So it's like, what significance, what role is this new moon playing and these activations having, and this new nodal transit of Aries and Libra? How are these frequency changes impacting humanity, and how do these changes that are impacting humanity based on this energy now play into the unfolding cosmic blueprint that is, as above so below, ushering us into this new age of understanding, experience, and relating to our own reality? And this new moon, as I said, is playing a bit of a rare and a significant role, because we're like crossing the bridge into the energy that is going to propel us truly forward in that direction. Because the age of Aquarius, this is the age of self-knowledge. This is the age of self-understanding. This is the age of self-mastery, and it's the age of information as well, and self-empowerment. And therefore, you know, this hero's journey that Chiron is representative of, and that is being indicated through the North Node and Chiron transiting the same sign now, in this process of self-actualization that we always talk about, and Pluto's entrance into the sign of Aquarius, bringing this sense of internalized transformation and self-empowerment as well. All of these things are like turning up the fire, okay, within the belly of humanity, like really activating the energy that causes us to take back our power from also like a higher level of wisdom, okay? This is, yes, of course, we need to say we're dealing with Aries energy. I mean, the lower octaves of Aries and Mars, you guys, this is always going to be like ruthlessness and violence and rage and ego and distorted masculine energy and battle and warfare and, you know, fighting for the sake of fighting and just like ego battles and, you know, all of this. But I don't like to focus on that energy, because truly, that is not the octave that universe is pulling us towards right now. If we were at a different time in, you know, all of time and space, and we weren't exactly where we're at in this unfolding cosmic blueprint, we weren't headed into the age of Aquarius, we weren't, you know, headed back towards the more golden age frequencies and energy, we weren't coming closer, like back into connection with the energies and frequencies of the galactic center, then I would be reading this Mars energy right now, this Aries North Node transit, differently. But because of where we're at sort of in the grander scheme of things, the spiritual warrior does prevail. The divine masculine does prevail. So while of course there are likely to be just more fights and ego battles and, you know, people sort of not being in control of their temper, being more hot-headed, more primed for conflict and stuff like that, more selfishness perhaps as well of the sign of Aries, because we're being called towards a conscious awakening and the embracing of wisdom gained through experience. I do think that the higher octave masculine energy is what is going to prevail. And even when we get started, okay, when we start this transit, it may not seem that way. It may seem when we start this transit actually like the lower energies, the lower frequencies associated with Mars and Aries are what's dominating, and they may be, because perhaps, you know, this is a lesson plan, this is a course. So in order to know what we need to fix, we may may need to know what the problem is. And without these things sort of flaring up and being in our face, sometimes it's hard to determine what the problem is. So it's like we're taking our entrance exams, okay, with this Grand Cross and cardinal signs at 29 degrees that is coming in to start our new moon and Cancer cycle and to start the transit of the nodes through Aries and Libra. So we're going to see where we're at. We're going to see where we're at with our ego. We're going to see where we're at with our temper. We're going to see where we're at in terms of our own weaknesses and how we let them control us, and where we're coming from like a more instinctual ego-based nature, and where we're coming from our higher selves, and where we have and we haven't been like identifying with our authentic truth, or where we've been denying ourselves or denying our truth in order to maintain the peace in some type of way. All of this stuff might be quite glaring to us and might really be presenting some challenges or some conflicts, especially as this transit is kicking out. But by the time we get to the end of it, we will find ourselves, I'm telling you guys, in a much greater state of self-mastery, much greater states of self-empowerment, having a much more reasonable approach to the way we're using our energy, to also like our logical mind being much less reactive based on emotional impulses of things. There's going to be a maturation of the masculine energy dynamic within all of us. I'm not talking about male and female. I'm talking about the divine masculine energy within all of us and what that represents. And it's going to be a stabilizing, productive, and positive force in establishing an inner authority that is going to give us confidence. And through that sense of confidence, we will overcome, and we will really find ourselves becoming a whole different person that we are so much more proud of. And we will gain this sense of victory over ourselves, over our circumstances, and over that which in the past may have blocked us, limited us, kept us held back, or kept us trapped or blocked, blocked from pursuing our passions in some type of a way, or from, like I said, this carpe diem energy, this seize the day energy, this making something of myself, this fulfilling my role, fulfilling my destiny as well. Probably a growing urge within all of us over this period of time, seeking expression, and it will get its expression. So, as I said, we may start out in, some very tense times along these lines, but as we move through this energy, we will find ourselves overcoming challenges, learning the lessons, and implementing them to our success moving forward. There is indications of success, and we will get to talking about it. Okay, we've got other aspects to talk about. We are not done yet, but there is a very supportive Jupiterian influence. Jupiter is in the right place for the job right now, you guys, to ensure that the changes that are happening, the direction that we're taking, the risks that we're taking, how we're asserting ourselves in alignment with truth and wisdom will be supported for our success moving through this period of time. And that being said, the remainder of the summer, okay, moving through this next couple weeks and then unfolding the rest of the summer is likely to be about redefining who we are, redefining what we want, sort of ultimately. Other aspects now associated with what we have going on. First of all, we have a Mars-Saturn opposition that we are simultaneously going to be dealing with over this next week or so, next couple of weeks, while we also have the Grand Cross and cardinal signs at 29 degrees playing out. I will tell you guys, both of these aspects, Mars opposite Saturn, this is the two great malefics in a harsh oppositional aspect to each other. And then a Grand Cross and cardinal signs with the Sun and Pluto and the nodes of the Moon, 29 degrees, critical degree. Both of these aspects are sort of like the utmost in presenting or indicating the potential for challenges and situations that we need to overcome. And this Mars-Saturn opposition, remember, Mars is the planet that rules the sign of Aries, where the North Node is moving, that is indicating this new phase of growth. So what Mars is doing for this period of time is very important and very revealing in terms of like what needs to be done in order to achieve the means that this process is overall indicating. So we've got to talk about Mars in the opposition to Saturn, who is retrograde, and that is important. And that is really making a big difference, I feel like, in the way that this energy is presenting. But we need to talk about this. And we also have Jupiter making, as I mentioned earlier, several aspects that is really supporting and helping to alleviate perhaps some of the more negative influences of these more challenging aspects that are simultaneously playing out. Jupiter will be in a square to Mercury. Jupiter will also be in a sextile to Saturn and a trine to Mars. So while we do have Saturn and Mars in opposition, which again is it is a challenging aspect, we have Jupiter supporting both of these planets and also making a square to Mercury. Jupiter and square to Mercury, regardless of the challenges that we face, you guys, like regardless of, you know, the obstacles or the issues or the conflicts, somehow we are still maintaining a positive attitude. Somehow we are still maintaining a future focus. Somehow we are still able to see like the bigger picture despite the challenges that we may be facing on the ground. Now, I will tell you, this is also energy that makes it a bit difficult to see the details, to see the fine print. We don't want to be sloppy. We don't want to overlook things. We don't want to be arrogantly optimistic or so self-assured or grandiose about things that we're like living some type of personal delusion. That is not the best use of this energy, although that could also be another like lower octave manifestation of this energy as well. However, Jupiter is bringing this positive influence in terms of our ability to see the bigger picture, our ability to remain mostly optimistic, our ability to have a positive attitude about things, and also in terms of facilitating positive, productive potential in terms of the Mars-Saturn energy and what that could be bringing to us as well. So we have a very positive Jupiterian supportive influence that is trying to help us through this process, and that is likely, you know, if we're able to maintain a positive mental attitude, that is drastically going to assist us in having a much more positive experience in regards to whatever challenges we need to face at this point in time. So that is a very positive, beneficial, supportive energy that is helping us through whatever it is that we're going through right now as this entrance exam comes into fruition over this next couple of weeks. So that being said, let's now talk about some of the energy of Mars opposite Saturn retrograde, because this is also fundamental of our Cancer new moon, of especially this first 2 weeks of the Cancer new moon, but also of this next year and a half process that is unfolding as Mars ruling the sign of Aries, where the North Node will be transiting, will be in an opposition to Saturn as the nodes change signs and enter Aries and Libra. So this is these themes that we're going to be speaking about in regards to the opposition between Mars and Saturn are likely to be some of the catalytic situations that start us on this process of growth in regards to the Aries North Node situations and themes going on. So that being said, let's talk about Mars and Saturn retrograde. Now, like I said, the fact that Saturn is retrograde right now, I do feel like is significant because Saturn is boundaries and limitations and control and restriction and authority. But with Saturn retrograde in the opposition to Mars, this is like overcoming restrictions, overcoming barriers, breaking down limitations, like breaking through boundaries, like overcoming or like the breakdown of authority or rules or regulations. And so Saturn being retrograde for this process, I do feel is very significant and very telling. Now, Mars, where have we been holding back our feelings? Saturn holding back, Mars, our feelings, our passions, and our sense of self. How have we been self-censoring and or self-repressing in order to maintain some type of social graces or social cohesions? How have we been in a state of self-denial or limiting our own personal will or motivation or identity out of fear of some type of like social consequences in some way? And these are the barriers and the limitations that I feel like are going to be breaking down with Mars opposing Saturn retrograde as the North Node is entering the sign of Aries. We are changing the way that we identify with ourselves, and this is leading to changes in what? Mars is in the sign of Virgo right now, you guys. This is leading to changes in lifestyles, changes in routines, changes in habits and behaviors, our perspective, how we're looking at information, what we're learning, what we're talking talking about as well. All of these Virgo dominated themes, what we're putting our energy into growing and cultivating, what we're trying to bring to fruition, the goals that we're working towards, and the results that we are trying to cultivate as a result of whatever lifestyle changes we are feeling ourselves being pulled or ushered towards at this point in time. We are breaking free from the restrictions imposed on our own true character, largely due to the group norms, self-censoring, societal conditioning, societal or social expectations. We are no longer following the crowd. In a nutshell, what is the lesson of the North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra? Learning to be a leader and not a follower. Learning to no longer just blindly follow the crowd because that's what everybody's doing and we're afraid to go against that. No more. And this energy is going to present real challenges to people who have found their safety. Cancer, right? Safety or comfort or security in following the crowd, in turning a blind eye to their own personal truth in order to maintain some type of social standing. This is not what we're doing anymore, you guys. This is not the lesson. This is not the assignment. This is not the game plan. This is not the strategy. And where we have been ingrained or accustomed in patterns of behaving along those lines to, achieve some type of whatever it is that we're looking for, like that is not the route that is going to get us there anymore. We're going to find ourselves up against challenges every time we betray ourselves in order to maintain some type of social situation or to maintain some type of external peace. If we are willing to upset our own internal truth to maintain some type of external peace, that is where we are going to, I feel like, be coming up against the most extreme challenges over this period of time. No longer following the crowd. We are breaking from traditional beliefs as well. And again, happening in correspondence with this Cancer new moon. It has a lot to do with our early childhood programming, our familial traditions and stuff like that as well, that perhaps we are finding have been diminishing our own flame or keeping us from living our personal truth in one way or another. So breaking from traditional beliefs. Remember also, Saturn rules tradition in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is about beliefs and retrograde. This is the breakdown of traditional beliefs in regards to what was possible for us in this Carpe Diem energy as well. Taking back personal domain over our own lives. The assignment is leadership over our own experiences, becoming the captain of our own ship. And this has been a slow burn as well, because we're talking about Mars and Saturn. Mars is energy, right? Mars is speed, Mars is momentum. Saturn slows things down, it restricts things, it brings things to a crawling pace. And again, it exemplifies, the concept of slow burn energy. This makes me think that whatever personal restrictions we are having to break free from or overcome or release ourselves from now has been something that has been gradually building within us, perhaps over long periods of time, likely associated with maybe some great internalized irritation or inner conflict that we've been dealing with, and will require a need, most likely as a result, for great patience and a great level of willpower to persevere over that which has been holding us back maybe up until this period of time. We could come up against some fierce opposition, you guys. We've got Mars and Saturn in a literal opposition. This is the old and the new up against each other. This is authority and tradition versus innovation and self-determination. So we've got these things sort of hanging in the balance. We've also got a South Node transiting the sign of Libra, all about balance, redefining the balance, reharmonizing things, creating a new balance. This fierce opposition could also manifest in terms of literal attacks, betrayal, abandonment, also rules, authority, controllers kind of really exerting some more force or dominance that we need to figure a way out of as we go through this period of time. But standing up for ourselves, like I said, you guys, ultimately this is about standing up for ourselves and not allowing the consequence of other people's reactions, what other people think, what other people have to say for us, defining our role in our own reality and the actions that we will and will not take to fight for what we believe is right and truthful. I mean, we're talking about Jupiter, truth, wisdom, honor, integrity in the trine to Mars, supporting the trine to Mars, in the sextile of Saturn as they're in opposition. So, you know, where we are fighting for what's right, where we are fighting for wisdom, where we are fighting for truth, where we are acting from integrity and honor, like, this will be supported, okay? Even if we are going against the grain, even if we feel like we're being attacked on all fronts, even if we feel like, you know, in this moment we're losing the fight, if we are acting with honor, like I said, if we are letting truth and justice be our guide, things will be rebalanced eventually over the course of this next year and a half in a way that is supporting the individual who is fighting for truth, wisdom, and righteousness. Right now. Saturn also demands accountability. Saturn also demands honor and honesty. So as long as we're doing what's right, you guys, this is not energy where we need to be making it a priority whose like feelings and stuff like that maybe like get hurt or it's not our responsibility to maintain someone else's version of us if that is not in alignment with our own version of us that we are re-identifying with in this energy. So going forward, you guys, the rest of the summer, we will be redefining our relationships and our values and what we want. You can bet on that, you guys, and it's going to be in the context of what supports our current journey of personal growth, coming back into alignment with a sense of self-empowerment, sense of inner authority, and the motivation and the passion to do something to take back control of our own reality in some way or another. We're talking about Saturn, control, and Mars in opposition. Saturn is this external authority. Mars is the personal will. This is rule-breaking energy. Don't expect people to be following the rules by the book, maybe as they have over this next year and a half. This is a much more rebellious energy as, again, universe is calling us right now to not follow the crowd, to not follow the group, to be a leader. And this also makes sense in the greater context of things, you guys. We are transitioning out of the age of Pisces. We are transitioning into the age of Aquarius. The age of Pisces, this was also an age about schooling and grouping together, sort of like the group think. That is not where we're at anymore. And in order to truly like get a solid foot into this new Aquarian energy, we can no longer be defining ourselves by the context of the group, okay? What everybody else wants cannot be the deciding factor in what it is that we want if we feel that that is not what is good for, you know, us or our growth or our destiny. There's a huge air of destiny, huge air of spiritual warrior, huge air of, you know, divine inner masculine, putting our foot down and like swinging the sword of like justice, okay? So that's where we're at. Upsetting tradition, rule-breaking energy, impulse versus repetition, hot versus cold, young versus old, passion versus dedication, anger versus control, will versus strategy. Mars opposition to Saturn. People breaking from social norms, rules, traditions, and not backing down, fighting back against tyranny, fighting back against authority. Remember, you guys, also, Saturn rules the sign of Capricorn. What do we have going on at the very last critical degree of the sign of Capricorn? We've got Pluto retrograde. Pluto retrograde, last degree of the sign of Capricorn. This is bringing down the control and power systems and matrices of our 3D reality and world of the past. There is a new, fresh energy that, again, it's like this divine masculine energy that is being sparked and ignited within all of us, that is building these new foundations and no longer willing to go along with the things from the past that were out of alignment with any with what was needed for organic growth, okay? That were distorting value, that were out of alignment with truth, that were out of alignment with integrity, that were coming from a place of distorted masculine energy, inverted masculine energy. So it's all about personal power, okay? We can no longer be controlled, and we are taking back power as Pluto also prepares to re-enter the sign of Aquarius, which is going to characterize a lot of our 2024. 2024, you guys, 2023, this has been a year, this will continue to be a year of cascading endings and beginnings. Radical rebirth, something, the end of an era. 2024, this year is going to be all about self-empowerment, standing on our own 2 feet, this like carpe diem, manifest destiny energy, like taking life by the horns and riding out, not being defined by our past, not being defined by the, the will of the group, not being defined by social or societal or cultural expectations. It's going to be the year of like true self-empowerment of the individual and stepping into alignment with our own personal destinies, overcoming our weaknesses, and aligning with a greater state of personal self-mastery. And not only is it being represented throughout multiple dimensions of the astrology that's coming through, let's talk for just a second before we wrap this report up about the Sabian symbols that are also present for the positions of the sun and the moon in their alignment for our new moon in Cancer, and also the position of the earth, which is always in a direct opposition to the sun and also the moon, because we have our new moon going on today where the sun and the moon are coming together. The sun is at the Sabian symbol 20, the new moon itself, and I should have said this in the beginning. I'm sorry for not saying this in the beginning, you guys. I just got so caught up and carried away with these themes that are going on and these changes in what we're going to start talking about now. I totally forgot to give you like the basic details of this new moon. Anyways, it's happening on Monday, July 17th, 2023, 2:32 p.m. Eastern time. It's happening at exactly 24 degrees, 56 minutes of the sign of Cancer. That's where the sun and the moon come into alignment, which means in terms of the Sabian symbols, we will be looking at 25 degrees of Cancer for the Sabian symbol placement of our new moon, because when we're looking at the Sabian symbols, we always round up. For those of you who are new to my channel or are unfamiliar with the Sabian symbols, what they are is a group of symbols that describe each and every one of the 360 degrees of the zodiac. Whenever we have a planet at a degree making an aspect, discharging a specific degree, we can look at the Sabian symbol associated with that degree. It just gives us an extra layer of symbolic interpretation that we can apply to understand, okay, what these aspects are really doing for us. So I always like to consider what's going on with the symbolism associated with any degree placement. And again, once again, the symbolism is so telling, so relevant, as we are in this very, very significant new moon cycle that is all about initiating a phase of self-empowerment. The position of the sun and the moon, where they are aligning, 25 degrees of Cancer, that Sabian symbol is a leader of men wrapped in an invisible cloak of power. So we're literally talking about a leader of men, this whole phase of growth, this new moon cycle that is this active initiation into this change that has a lot to do with us coming back to a place of identifying as a leader in our own reality, is literally referring to a leader of men, becoming the leader in our own reality, or becoming a leader, maybe not even just in terms of how we're conducting ourselves, but maybe like stepping into a leadership role in some context in our lives as well. A leader of men wrapped in an invisible cloak, or an invisible mantle is another way this symbol is written, of power. So there is a force that may be unperceivable to the naked eye, but there is a spiritual power that is seeking to rise within the collective of man right now, which is seeking to awaken within all of us to help us step into our leadership shoes, either just personally in the regards of how we are conducting our own selves, or in terms of the leadership role that universe is now calling us to play on a greater level, in some level of our experience. So if you're in a situation in life where there is a void of leadership, this may be the time, the era, the chapter of your life where you're the one that needs to step into that leadership role. Maybe, because of the wisdom that you've gained, or the experience that you've gained up until this point in time, and the cycles that you have detached yourselves from based on the value that you've discovered, or the resources of potential, or the lesson you've learned. Maybe you are now ready to become that leader in some area of your life in some way or another. And if that is the case, don't question it. Don't fear other people's reactions. Step into it and lead with confidence. Gaining confidence is also definitely a dimension of the power that is coming to us and that we will find inherently blossoming sort of within us over this period of time. Now, we've also got the Earth at 25 degrees of Capricorn, of course, the oppositional point to our new moon itself. That Sabian symbol is an Oriental rug dealer in a store filled with precious Oriental rugs. When I interpret the symbolism of this, to me, it makes me think of something that we are holding within us, an internalized worth or an internalized value or something precious that we have discovered or that we are holding within us or that we have realized we have the potential to use to create something of value or abundance in our external world, defending what we love, defending what we value, okay? Willing to fight to preserve or to maintain the value or the preciousness of whatever it is that we are holding or that we have discovered or that, you know, we've realized we have within us on some level. And this action-oriented time of change that is coming as a result of that. What are we holding inside of us? What value, worth, potential do we hold inside of us? What invisible sense of power is that igniting within us? And how will that create some type of foundational change in some area of our lives to help us come into a greater sense of personal dynamism in terms of the way that our experiences are unfolding? That's what I have to say, you guys. That's what is coming through in terms of the energy this cycle. That is what we're looking at moving into the next year and a half of our experience. Let's get a synchronicity card now. We actually just had two come out. They say, wait and bless them and walk on. I'm going to read both of these as they're probably both relevant. All right, the first one says, wait. Wait on the Lord and he shall save thee. Proverbs 20:22. Relax, let go, and let God. Don't struggle to make things happen before they are ready to happen. And that's another thing. Like I said, as we start this new phase of growth, as this new year and a half nodal transit kicks off, there may be some resistance, there may be some blockage, there may be some things that we need to sort of allow to fall into place or to allow ourselves to overcome before we can move forward. And this is saying, don't force it, okay, if it's not ready to happen yet. Wait and be assured everything is working together for your good. Remember, the North Node moving to the sign of Aries. Aries is also a sign of Mars. This is like, gotta get up and go. But Mars is opposite Saturn, slowing things down, bringing restrictions. Like, this is that slow burn energy. This is like slow and steady wins the race, okay? And we need to keep that in mind. Now is not the right time to advance. Wait in faith and expectancy of the very best. Know that when the time comes to advance, you will be directed to do and say the right thing. So that may be something to keep in mind, especially over this first 2 weeks of the Cancer cycle. But as this energy unfolds, you know, maybe over the next year and a half, but definitely I would say probably over this first 2 weeks that we are dealing with this grand cardinal cross and Mars opposing Saturn. The next card says, bless them and walk on. The words of a talebearer are as wounds as they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Proverbs 22:6. You can see through the darkness of another's mind. You are not responsible for their negative thinking and you cannot change their mind. Do not get involved. Bless them and walk on. As one of the primary lessons of this next phase of growth, Aries, Libra, North Node, South Node, that we are dealing with, we have to realize, like, this is about us learning. We are not responsible for how another person feels or about how another person acts, and no other person is responsible for how we feel and for how we act, okay? I am in charge, Aries, North Node. I am in charge of myself. I am in charge of my emotions. I am in charge of my emotional reactions to things. If someone does something that I don't like or that like hurts me or that impacts me in some type of way, I can choose how I want to view that experience. I can choose whether I want to allow that to hurt me or whether I want to view that as something maybe perhaps that was a little off with the person who did that, okay? What other people have to say, what other people have to gossip, what other people's thoughts, opinions, blah, blah, blah about me, that is none of my business, okay? What is my business is making sure that I am doing the right thing, making sure that I am living in alignment with my integrity, making sure that I am living in a way that brings me a sense of personal honor, making sure that I am not betraying myself, that I am not abandoning my truth, that I am not allowing other people to take advantage of me because of a fear of some type of an abandonment or some type of like social disgrace or something like that. This is energy where truth, wisdom, doing the right thing, this is what prevails. Standing in our truth, fighting for what we believe in, standing up for ourselves, not allowing ourselves to be bullied by, you know, the mass mind, okay? This is about like taking back our individual power, standing in our state of self-empowerment. Is this about like an overly accentuated ego and being like selfish and being reckless and being ruthless and being violent and being cruel and being mean? No, of course not. But this is about mastering ourselves and overcoming and no longer allowing ourselves to be like beat down or to be stuck in a state of victimhood and actively choosing how we will respond. This is about us overcoming our own lower natures and our own weaknesses and reprogramming our own subconscious mind in a way that is life-giving and life-bringing instead of life-stifling and life-extinguishing. And this is us seeing ourselves from a place of strength and a place of honor and a place of courage and a place of respect and a place of leadership, and not as a place and not from a place of, you know, victimhood or from a place of like needing to like bow down or to, you know, bend the knee to this, that, or the other. So wait, you guys, bless them and walk on. That's the new lesson. That's the new journey. That's the new assignment, and that is our guidance along those lines. So I'm gonna stop talking now. That's what I have to say. This is how I feel like the energy is coming through for our new moon, and largely coloring what we're gonna be dealing with, what we're gonna be talking about, what we're gonna be navigating as we move through this next 1.5 year period of time. So shifting themes, shifting narratives, shifting vibes, shifting lessons, and we're going to be shifting a lot of what we're talking about on this channel as a result moving forward now. So that being said, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope you liked this video. I hope I was able to provide something for you that was of some type of value to you in some way. If you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would appreciate this kind of content as well. Leave me comments, you guys. I'm so grateful for all of you. I really, truly appreciate your feedback. I love knowing, and it's important to me also to know how this energy as it's coming through and what I'm talking about on this channel is impacting you guys. If you're having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about, please let me know in the comment section below. I have a Facebook page, a Facebook group, an Instagram, some other social stuff in my description box below. If you want to know what's on these whiteboards, I post them in my Facebook group, so that's where you can find that. Come back with me later this week, you guys. This whole week this is a jam-packed astrology week. We've got pretty much big things happening every day. We're going to be talking more about the Saturn-Mars opposition. We're going to really be getting into more energy regarding this cardinal grand cross when I put a video out on Wednesday, and then we will wrap up the week this weekend by talking about more of this energy. We're also going to have Venus stationing retrograde. So major energetic week, you guys. I will be back here to talk about it. You should be here too. You definitely don't want to miss it, and I will see you then. You guys have a very beautiful day, next couple days, and until next time, bye guys.